Welcome, everybody, again to another exciting presenter session with Elizabeth Hume from outside of Boise, Idaho. Another Westerner, somebody that speaks to my heart as somebody that grew up in Wyoming. Elizabeth, how are you doing?
Great. How are you? Thanks for
I'm
having me.
doing well, absolutely. Thanks for coming on. So before we started the session, we're just kind of talking back and forth about what you do and why you do it. And we started talking about this concept of agency, which I know a lot of people are probably confused about, even us instructors. I don't do anything with agency that I understand. That's why I rely on other realtors. How is that experience of talking to people like me that should know this concept over the course of years kind of influence the way you approach your instruction and the way you work in the industry?
Well, I feel like if you aren't getting a topic, it's not because you're not smart, it's because we didn't explain it right. So if we can figure out how to take some of those topics that seem really difficult to the student or seem like it's one that they just struggle with getting the grasp of, that maybe we can come at it from a different direction and make it a little bit simpler for them to understand or break it down in a way that they would understand it instead of coming at it from the way we teach it or the way we've always taught it or
Mhm.
any of those items. So it's just about learning to use some of the tools that we learn in REEA to break it down into a simpler topic.
Yeah, and you were mentioning before, I mean, you notice this is a need for people, no matter how long they've been in the industry,
Yep.
these complex concepts, these things that you just kind of feel people should know. Like agency. Agency is what you mentioned,
I
but
just use that as the example because it's one that everyone understands. But there's plenty of topics that none of us, there's times when title's a mystery to us, and there's times when math is a mystery to us. And we're
mhm.
like, why can't they figure out, how to do a net sheet or something? So just coming at some of those difficult topics a little bit differently,
Yeah,
hopefully.
absolutely. Absolutely. How has that influenced the way that you've approached teaching and even the way that you work as an individual agent over the years? I mean, has that just forced you to sit back and question your own assumptions that you're making about people, about processes, and anything you might come across?
Yeah, I mean, every time I teach or I go to a conference, I learn something new and I'm like, oh, I wish I would have known that, however many years ago, because there's that meme on social media right now. I was today this years old when I found out
Hmm.
this. And I think we all have that feeling like we should have known this years ago. And I have students that have been in my classes, then they're very experienced and they're like, I wish I could really understand that topic. And a lot of the stuff we teach is very surface level and very basic and meant for the we just kind of gloss things over at the 10,000 foot level. And I think you can dive in and get a little bit deeper and have a little bit better understanding if you can really dig in and approach it in a different way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, what are some of the techniques and methods that you use to connect with people? Because obviously, when we can trust somebody that what they're telling us is true, it's easier to learn from them, and it's absolutely easier to instruct somebody. How have you approached that trust building process? And hey, puppy, good to see you in the
Yeah,
background.
sorry.
No, look.
This is Alta. She doesn't like cameras, but she doesn't realize there's a camera. So
Oh,
she'll get
look
on
at
my
her.
lap. So this is she's camera shy usually, and
Yeah.
she loves attention. So this is Alta.
It's
Yeah.
it's it's a weird, interesting mix, right? You find the shyest puppies, the shyest kids are always the ones that love attention the most,
Yeah.
right?
And she just loves, she was on the bed and she decided she needed attention. Okay,
Yeah.
we're done now. Go lay down.
The eyes say it all.
Yeah.
But it's kind of apropos, right? It's God's way of just reminding us that, the thing we're talking about here, oftentimes the people that need the most attention, the people that want the most attention are sometimes the shyest ones to ask for help, which is
Yep. They're the quiet ones in the room watching what's going on.
hmm how
Yep.
do you identify those folks? I mean, can you identify those folks? Do you just kind of watch them by body language, look at
Yeah,
their
you can watch
eyes?
where they sit. you can watch how they interact with people coming into the classroom. I don't like to talk to people. Like there's some instructors that like to like go out and meet all the people that are going to be in their class. And I kind of like to watch from the sides and how
Hmm.
they interact, who they talk to, who they don't talk to, where they sit in the classroom, how they like approach the desks and sit down. And um, it gives you a little insight on who they are in the class. And then I always start my classes with an introduction. So I sort of force them all out of the box. So even the shy ones have to at least say their name.
Hmm.
It's sort of randomly done. So it's my one probably uh, DREI thing that I do that's probably not quite right because I do make everybody speak at least once in the class, but I have found that it rips the band-aid off. So that somebody that's a little quieter, once they've said their name and they've said where they work and how long they've been in the business, and then I always have a fun fact and I give a couple of choices so they don't have to like this last class I had where it's their favorite, if they were going to have a music festival, like who would be in the lineup. And then I did, what decorating trend needs to die? And I was like, you can do either of those. And I've had a couple of people that are like, I don't listen to music and I don't like decorating. And you're like, you're a real estate agent. Like, how can you possibly walk into a house and not go,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, there's orange shag carpet in this house, or they still have barn doors, or they have words on the wall, or whatever it is. I think they're so worried about offending somebody, or they don't want to
Mhm.
share that piece of them. And music, I've had people say that they listen to like religious music or classical music or heavy metal or whatever it is. I've had all of the things said, and it's funny so I'm wondering if those people listen to something that they didn't feel the rest of us would approve of. If everybody else in the class is listening to classic rock and they're like, I really like Christian music, like it doesn't matter to me like what you like to listen
Sure.
to. It does help understand,
Well,
but it gives me insight when they don't answer the question. Like I don't want to answer that question or I don't listen to music. You're like, they're private. They don't want to talk about things. And so
yeah.
you get to know them even when they don't answer.
Well, and so from my perspective, this is my judgment, right? I'm not DREI, so I can't comment on what the process is, but everybody has their flavor. You can't silence somebody's way of doing things completely, and you definitely want to encourage that. Take that for whatever it's worth. But what would be your lineup at that
Oh,
festival?
my festival would be well, I love 80s music, so I like Duran Duran. Maybe
Hmm.
having like the Go-Go's or somebody fun like that. I've seen these all in concert at some point.
Hmm.
Um I like country, so I like Eric Church and I like Luke Combs. Morgan Wallen's pretty fun. But then there's like Hardy and Jelly Roll kind of add into the mix. And then if I was
Hmm.
going to put some classic rock in, maybe Eric Clapton or um, oh, I had a name, James Taylor,
Hmm.
maybe Bonnie Raitt. I don't know. There's like I go through phases. I have every year on my iPod, I have like mom's music 2024, mom's music
Hmm.
2023. So it's kind of whatever I'm in the mood for. And you'll find that it's this year, I've just been like throwing things in it. So I'm listening to it and I'm like, I didn't put that in there, but I put some compilation in of a flavor of music that I like. And so I just heard about a band called The Warning and they're kind of
Hmm.
interesting and different. So that's been sort of fun.
Well, I can tell you that if you ask my daughters, I would be listening to Justin Timberlake and boy bands, and these are girls that are 4 and 6 years old. So I can tell you that they would not be on my stage, but I'd probably go with some of the 80s that you mentioned. The Go-Go's would be awesome to
Yeah,
watch.
they're fun.
Um, Now again, I'm a 90s kid. I was born in the 80s, grew up in the 90s, so my version of the Go-Go's would be Luscious Jackson. When you talk about country, I to this day would go watch any Garth Brooks concert
Oh,
anywhere.
yeah, he's good too.
Oh, because
And
it's just
and Taylor
entertaining.
Swift, I didn't put in, but
Oh,
I've
you're
seen
you're a
her.
Swiftie.
I'm a Swiftie.
Oh,
Uh,
well, again, you and my daughters, I think, would have a lot in common, and my wife, because she has that same sort of eclectic taste that it sounds like you have, which is awesome, right? I mean,
yeah, I
that's
think
that's
you
the
yeah.
flavor.
I was told I couldn't be a musical snob by my uncle when I was growing up, and I was like, I'm not a musical snob. I listen to everything.
Yeah, yeah, awesome, awesome. Well, hey, look, we are going into the REEA conference. Everybody is going to have, speaking of diversity, a diverse set of presenters with a diverse set of topics. In what we've kind of talked about here speaks to your topic, right? I mean, people are complex people, but we want to be simple enough that somebody can approach. You want to be able to approach that relationship and know that it's not drama filled, that there's something real. What's that nugget of your session that somebody can walk in, know that they're going to get a wide array of a playlist, and still be able to pull one thing from your playlist in that class that they can walk out and make their instruction better?
I think I will hopefully show several different ways to approach one topic, or I'll present a few topics, but having
Mhm.
a couple of different approaches to them. So hopefully one of them, it will, even if it's not the exact approach they would use, maybe it will trigger their creativity and they will say, oh, I could take this approach and mix them together. Or I liked the way she did this piece, but I would do it differently the second part. And so if I can just leave, that would be my dream, is if somebody left where they were either able to take one thing that I did, um, and then walk away and go, I'm for sure going to use that. Or if they take a piece of it, that's okay too.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, guess what, everybody? I don't know that you will get a 50-minute playlist session from Miss Elizabeth when you go into her session, but you will get the ability to take away something that you can use near immediately. And that makes the dynamic nature of the REIA conference so much more amazing. But you can only get to the conference if you register. And you can do so at reaconference.com, where you can see the entire lineup of presenters like Elizabeth Hume, as well as the dozen or so others that will present on topics that you can use inside of your classroom, inside of your career, inside of your school, and inside of the industry. Once again, register at reaconference.com. Elizabeth, thank you so much for taking a few moments today to talk about you, show us your cute, adorable little puppy, and talk
Oh
about
yeah,
what it
she's
is
cute.
that you will do in your session. Thank you again.
Thanks. Have a great day. And I hope to see everybody at REEA. So I'm bringing my daughter with me. That'll be super fun.
Awesome, awesome. Well,
Yeah,
now
she's 17.
another
So
nugget,
yeah, another
another
nugget.
nugget.
Another
Perfect.
nugget. You can meet Maggie and she has all the dirt on me. So
Awesome. Hey, look, that's worth having a conversation with anybody about, right?
yeah,
So,
she may not talk to you though, but that's okay. She's the shy one.
all right, everybody, get registered and meet Elizabeth, her daughter, and hear all the dirt at reaconference.com.
Thanks. Have a great day.